What's happening? Talk to me! Kate?
Scoot! Are you there?
Of course I'm here. Are you okay?
Scoot! What's happening?
Well, we've ended Act 2 again, and Prophecy just, like, goes straight into Act 3 with no interruption, so it just goes right now.
Oh god, the nanobots. Listen, Kate, those nanocell scientists carry emergency pills in case there's a contamination. Find them quickly.
Follow your objective marker, it's only 10 meters away. Good thing there was one right in this map, otherwise you'd be completely screwed.
Search the scientists who just got eaten by the nanobots that are inside you.
Yeah, Purus suppressant pills. This is the one of the big major gimmicks that Prophecy adds in Act 3. Occasionally, because Kate has been infected by the nanobots, she needs to find pills.
Oh, that's not going to get annoying.
And if anyone actually played Left 4 Dead anymore, I would make the obligatory joke.
Okay, those pills will buy you some time, but you need that antidote. Morton said Mila had it. He said she was heading for ElectroCorp.
Fine. I can get there via the plaza.
Exactly. But listen, those pills will wear off pretty quickly. You'll need to find another dose on the way.
So this has a pretty interesting twist on the underwater fights that we've seen. This room will slowly fill up with water, so eventually we'll be forced to engage with the enemies directly. It's also a little bit of a waiting game, since there's not really a good way to actually get up onto the top floor until the water is at a certain level. But it's still pretty fun from a combat perspective.
That is kind of neat.
Yeah, as long as you don't blow yourself up like that. And this area will continue to build. This is the same map where we rescued Billingham's men in the last video. This is also where Act 2 ends in XBLA. And it just sort of ends anticlimactically when you just go through that door.
Shit, Kate, the Malthusians. They're coming this way. Oh crap, I need to get out of here. Look, get to ElectroCorp and find that antidote. I'll meet you there.
Scoot!
There's no time, Kate. Listen, good luck.
Scoot!
Alright, now Act 3 begins properly. So this is part of a new story area, but it's not technically a new map. This is actually just a reskin of a couple of maps that you see later in Act 3 in XBLA. As you can see, they repurposed those cover areas to be logos for PowerCell.
Huh. This is amazing. Like, I'm so disappointed that the game wasn't longer than it was, because this is really fun to watch.
But it essentially allowed fans to vote up or down certain elements of the game, and basically say what they did or didn't like about it, and most importantly, why they did or didn't like it, using an adjective system. Also, this is where you find energy rounds at XBLA. This area is pretty devoid of enemies, and it's just like a short jaunt over to the electricity puzzle.
Oh, come on!
So their feedback system was kind of a non-standard choose-your-own-adventure type of
Yeah, and
point and click.
as we'll be seeing in a later video, they actually put that directly into Prophecy. And as you can see with this electricity puzzle, you can get really close to the electricity before it actually shocks you. It kind of reminds me of, I think it was Far Cry 2, where they initially made their fire mechanic too powerful. Like, one programmer started a single brush fire, and before he knew it, the entire map burned down. So they had to actually put actually put limits on how powerful the fire was. I think they did the same thing with electricity in this game, just to make sure like the current doesn't go through the entire water through all the maps. Yeah, there's another Malthus document, but they actually start to hide them a little well in Act 3, and I just wanted to get this game over with, so I decided not to bother.
It does almost feel like you're finally out of the training and getting into the meat of the story.
Yeah, and this is the end. Well, it's basically the end. I mean, we haven't quite gotten to the big gunfight at the end that we all know is coming, but it's close. Yeah, rapid fire rounds are really cool to use underwater.
That is still my favorite effect.
And, oh, we've got a door. Access denied, but, oh, that's convenient. There's a glass window there.
Access means nothing to us.
Access is more a temporary inconvenience. And even then, it's more that, like in the original map, as you'll see later, it's about shutting off gas jets that are blocking the door, whereas here it's electricity. And as we'll be seeing later, the nature of this firefight is completely different in the original. It's also like that in Pure, because they didn't have the resources to change the level design as much as they would in the remake.
So, for all these underwater sequences that you're having to do, when you were recording this, how many times did you catch yourself trying to hold your breath with her?
Not as much as I did when playing XBLA, because the benefit of the oxygen meter. Certainly, not having an oxygen meter makes it more tense, but in a bad way. Oh dear, we better clear those. There we go.
So glad those don't electrify all the water.
Yeah. Oh, there is one enemy left. I couldn't figure out where he was. Turns out he's actually on the upper platform near where the hacking console is. But he still has enough of a vantage point that he can shoot down at you from there. So I try to outflank him, but he's smarter than I give him credit for, and I almost get killed. So I'm gonna finish him off with an extra humiliation with a gel round to the crotch. At some point later in this video, I start fast-forwarding these, but I don't know why I didn't start that here. And they start down a little more difficulty by making the waves a little less symmetrical.
Yeah, they get a little choppy, they get a little weird.
Yep. Yeah, that cutscene was not worth putting a notification for. It's just a Zelda-style door-open cutscene. And more enemies spawn out of nowhere. It's worth noting that at this point in the game, we do not have rapid-fire rounds in XBLA. Like, we only just got energy rounds. They really doled them out in very small quantities and stretched them out.
It changes the pacing a little.
Oh yeah, like if you remember, like we got semi-auto rounds before we even met an enemy in Prophecy, which I think was a really good choice.
Mm-hmm.
And yep, more enemies underwater. I think some of the enemies, it's possible. I haven't quite looked at their models yet, but they may have like breather tanks. I think that one does, which is similar to yeah, that guy definitely does over there. Kate was supposed to get a breathing device at some point, but that mechanic was cut for unknown reasons. But you could still see the rebreathing device in the E3 2010 trailer for the XBLA version.
Interesting.
Whoa, that bit of electricity jolting out there is dangerously close. And yeah, you can still charge your LP4 while swimming. And those little steam jets out there, they do damage Kate in small quantities, at least on normal. And it's really strange the way they work. Because the damage feedback really isn't that strong if you're not looking at the size of the screen. But yeah, this fight is basically the same, so I fast-forwarded through most of it. I think that guy just died of a heart attack, actually. I don't think I killed him.
Narcolepsy is a superpower.
Oh boy. And then it turns out we have to go to the other side.
More electricity.
So if you're willing to brave the game's jumping controls, you can step on one, or can jump on one of those panels over there, and try to get over to the barrier and take a shortcut there.
It seems like a bad idea.
Yeah. However, I do have a bit of trouble with this door, thanks to the game's not so great use of Havoc. Much better at water physics than it is ground physics.
Door physics, yeah.
Pretty much any physics that doesn't involve water. Really over-specializing.
A little bit, yeah.
I will say, I really think that any advantage that the mouse has when it comes to hacking minigames kind of disappears once the more wavy waveforms start to appear. Because you really have to line them up.
They do look tricky.
Alright, so here's the equivalents in XBLA. Like, they're similar objectives, but they're basically entirely different maps. So to speak. Also, this is what underwater combat looks like in XBLA. There's a lot more emphasis on ragdoll, as you can see. Particularly when you use the LP4. It sends enemies just flying everywhere. Assuming you can aim with the thing. And it's also in this map where we will finally get the rapid-fire rounds on XBLA. I also find it interesting that it still uses the drowning mechanic when enemies are underwater. I guess it just they couldn't find a better way to make the LP4 relevant in underwater combat.
Knock them out and let them drown. Yeah.
Yeah, let them drown when they already have rebreather masks underwater. I guess maybe like the LP4 like short circuits their rebreather masks. Maybe. I don't know. I'm making excuses for these developers.
Probably a terrible idea.
Yeah. So instead of shutting off the electricity, we're rerouting the gas jets. I mean, you could kind of see how this map is similar, not identical, but similar to the ones we just went through.
So you've still got the electricity.
Yeah, you still got the electricity. The top areas are blocked off because all the fighting is meant to be underwater. This is supposed to be where all the underwater fighting happens in this section of the game. So they really want to milk that, at least in the XBLA version.
The console!
I gotta say, the contrast in the environments is a lot worse in this version. Like, it's hard to pick out the electricity cables and certain elements in the environment, things like that.
Yeah, I will say also like the actual color contrast in between like distinguishing areas of the ship is different. I will say, like once we get to the big shootout at the end for XBLA, that actually does a good job of distinguishing like a unique color palette. Okay, I will admit these god rays are actually kind of impressive.
Oh yeah, that was very nice.
Of course, they're probably baked in given the fact that they're so isolated, but still, well done. I have no idea what happened to that ragdoll. Also, you may notice that there have been no loading screens, basically at all, on either version. I mean, on XBLA you have those scanning doors that kind of hide loading, but even then, it's still relatively seamless, and that's because of the pipeline that the developers used. In addition to Hydro Engine, which was their main physics engine for water, they had their GCS, their game creation software called Infinite Worlds. And at some point they were planning, at some point back when they were still, operational and had high hopes for Hydrophobia, they were planning to make as many as 11 games with the combination of Infinite Worlds and Hydro Engine going into 2021.
A little ambitious.
Yeah, just a tiny bit.
Where's the console? Right, there it is.
You were missing a question mark there, Kate. Alright, so, coming up is a bit of story that is exclusive to XBLA, and I think you can guess why.
Billingham, where are you? The Malthusians have breached the whole of this cell. Does anybody hear me? They are going to obliterate this cell.
D-Cell. Oh god! Scoot!
Oh, do we have to go save Scoot?
In XBLA, yes. Yeah, first of all, as you can tell, Roger Morton sounds completely different. Same voice actor. They just changed his performance. Yeah, the whole plot with rigging D-Cell to blow and having to save Scoot, that gets dropped in Prophecy because Kate already has a decent motivation to get to D-Cell in Prophecy because of the nanobots. Also, I have no idea why there's black screen here. I'm sorry. I edited this video like a month ago, and I must have missed that. Sorry, I'm gonna just put something like a cute puppy or here, something like that. I'm sorry. I'm too lazy to fix it.
Puppy getting a bath time. That puppy is adorable.
Yes, the puppy that we can actually see and that I'm not gonna have to add in post. Okay, we're back. Okay, so yeah, the plot thread with having to save Scoot. Scoot is basically gone in both versions of the game. I mean, he's still like relevant to the plot in XBLA, but we never see him again. And in Prophecy, he's basically gone. We never see him again.
I was just beginning to like him.
Yeah, it's a shame. He, I guess he went away to a special school where they actually teach you how to make good puns.
Clown school.
And oh no, Kate needs some pills again. Oh look, there they are. Right there.
Excellent.
This happens again, and it's even more ridiculous. Because Kate already has like a decent motivation to get to D-Cell because she's tracking down Mila and she's trying to figure out what happens with the nanobots. The whole contrived thing about rigging D-Cell to blow and having to save Scoot gets dropped because it's completely unnecessary now. It was basically a totally stupid reason for a third act to even happen in the XBLA version.
But now we have better storytelling. We've upgraded everything.
Marginally better storytelling. Congratulations. You have actual conflict, plot, and a bit of tension. And hey, look, that's the that big sort of lobby area where we started Act 2. And that's the TV where Mila was yelling at us. And it's another one of these puzzles.
Oh, buoyancy. You're my best friend.
My best friend is the fast-forward VHS effects. Yep, this is where we had our LP4 tutorial. This is a very nostalgic episode. We're going through. See, this is great. It's the more contemplative form of backtracking.
It's all come full circle, folks.
All right, so as we head back down to the elevator, which was where we couldn't find that access key to the elevator, I think at the end of video 1. This is where we're going to start Act 3. Now, keep in mind that this is where, on XBLA, we're going to be seeing Mila for the first time. So keep this in context, which we're going to be seeing the XBLA version of this cutscene first. That we have never heard of Mila Crass up until this point, aside from that one poster. So keep that in mind as we see this.
Well,
Mila!
tell the world your name.
Officer Bailey. Nanocell Security.
Tell the people why you give your life to serve this pitiful ship.
The Queen of the World shows there is hope. That mankind can survive.
The real world is dying, Officer Bailey. Slowly, painfully. We have the power to end the agony of billions of people forever. Shouldn't we act?
You sick bitch.
You can die only once. We each owe a debt to God, and those who pay today are free from debt tomorrow. Now it is Officer Bailey's turn to choose.
Choose what?
Pay your debt. Or, in the name of Malthus, join us in assisting those who resist to pay theirs.
Go to hell!
Citizens of the Queen of the World, soon it will be time for each of you to make your own choice. Choose wisely.
Mila, she's behind everything. She smuggled the Malthusians on board.
If I knew who the hell she was, this would be even better. Even more relevant to the story.
Yeah, the delivery's like she knew her.
Yeah, like, it's clear that Kate is supposed to know who she is, but the player doesn't. Anyway, here's the big fight at the end. We're on dry land, and basically, Hydrophobia falls into the trap that every big action game with a gimmick does, where in the last level it throws away the gimmick and just settles for a really big generic action sequence at the end.
Oh no.
This is easily the worst and the toughest fight in the entire game.
It's Gears of War all over again.
And it's also the one place in the XBLA version where you fight a lot of enemies at once. So you're very suddenly thrown into this chaotic situation where all of a sudden enemies are coming at you left, right, and center with very little cover. Like in Prophecy, at least, you're kind of used to it by now because of the level design had changed it, and because the level design changes, kind of prepared you for that kind of thing. But it's a massive difficulty spike in both versions, but especially in XBLA. Because you're not used to this kind of combat before.
I do like how the eat stop sign is pretty clearly a subway sign.
Yeah, there's hey, it's Yum Sushi again. Remember when we recorded that episode 8 months ago? Oh, good times. Alright, so, yeah, there's Eat Stop. I think there's also a Media Shack. Oh, yeah, Kate needs more pills. Oh, look, there they are. It was 20 feet away. They're not even trying anymore.
Are the pills on a trigger for where you are, or are they on an
No, they're always
timer?
in the same spot. But
And she always has the attack in the same spot then.
yeah, I think so. That, by the way, there are 2 collectibles in this area. I picked one up. I'm gonna have to pick up the other one, but we're picking up some more 10th anniversary memorabilia. This is a flag, like one of those cheap plastic flags that you wave around. I'm glad that they nailed that part of the aesthetic at least.
Cheap plastic, yeah.
There's also, I think, like a big boy hat that you can find. Like, like one of those shitty baseball caps with just Queen of the World stamped on it. Which, again, I appreciate that attention to detail when it comes to, like, tacky merchandising.
Gitchin' consumerism, folks. Gitchin' consumerism.
I mean, considering the cornucopian's philosophy, it absolutely makes sense. Yeah, that's really great cover. Good job. At least this guy kind of is using tactics. Those bushes apparently make really good cover.
Shoot the glass.
Anyway, remember when I said this level was a difficulty spike?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, many attempts later, eventually I killed everyone on the main floor. And then there's an extra electrical cable here you gotta shoot down. And then you climb up this ladder. Oh look, there's the Media Shack. Sort of briefly showed up there.
More climbing. No water to swim up to it.
We may be seeing some water later, actually, but this is the biggest gunfight in the game and has 0 water. Anyway, so this part of the map is actually pretty interesting. Not so much in this area, but when we see the XBLA version of this, I think you'll find it pretty interesting. So this is a pretty standard climbing section. It's worth noting, just for context, that I actually played the XBLA version of this map first. So I kind of know what I'm doing here, sort of. Although, for whatever reason, this part of the bar is treated as like a pole to swing on, as opposed to a grabbable part of the environment.
Climbable, yeah.
Yeah. They're still playing that stock bit of music. Alright, so we've navigated that bit of climbing puzzle. Let's go back to the XBLA version for a bit. So this was my first time playing through this version of the map, in either version of the game. And so I didn't know this part was coming on XBLA. And as you can tell, first of all, it's not color-coded at all, so it doesn't really map out where to go. And I wasn't entirely sure how to get up there.
Yeah, that's a bad design choice on their part.
So I sort of waited around for like a couple of minutes trying to figure out exactly what to do. Don't worry, I do fast forward some of this eventually. And eventually I kind of made my own path. Because I didn't know I was supposed to climb up there. And I figured maybe I was supposed to go up there. And it took a couple of tries, but eventually I was able to sort of seam walk up this area because I didn't know any better. I didn't know I was supposed to climb up there. But that's not the interesting part. The interesting part, the top of this object is treated as a balance beam, even though you're never supposed to be able to get up there. And I have no idea why.
Huh.
That is such a strange. Oh, by the way,
Oh, thank God.
Oh boy. Anyway, yeah, that's.
It's about there. I have to ask where the checkpoint was.
The checkpoint is after this cutscene coming up, I think. There are two completely different versions of this cutscene since we have two different plot threads going. Here's the prophecy version. Coming up in... Okay, well, it's coming up shortly. Maybe I'll move this part of the commentary. Or maybe not. Depends on how lazy I am. But after this
Now we know
little...
what a
After this
TD
little
dinner
vent...
feels like.
Yeah. After this little vent portion, we're going to be seeing the two different versions of the cutscene. Because, of course, there's two different plot threads going. We have, saving Scoot versus catching up with Mila. So it's the same map. And the same room for the objective, but two different objectives and two different story decisions. So here's the here's what it is in Prophecy. And here it is in XBLA.
God damn it. I told you to get off this deck. And that's what you're doing. Disa. Scoot.
Wait, they redesigned the Yum Sushi logo. I never noticed that before.
Holy shit, they
It's
did.
like a black and yellow aesthetic. Anyway, so this is basically the same map in both versions. And we will eventually be reaching the same room to get to our objective, but the actual objective to complete is different. Which is kind of interesting, I think. Also, yeah, just like the environmental fire from a couple of videos ago, like, those guys spawned entirely on top of it, and I got a 3x bonus for basically doing nothing. Alright, so we get a frequency key to get access to Electrocorp. That is our objective on Prophecy. In XBLA, there's a security console we have to hack. Basically in the same area. At this point in XBLA, I flooded the room entirely. I was just having too much fun with the underwater combat.
It is great.
So for most of the rest of this video, we're going to be sticking with XBLA, and we'll see why in a minute. But anyway, we're going to go up this. We're going to go up these stairs here. This is the room where the objective is in both versions of the game. And here we go. Are you ready for some more split screen?
The puzzle is different.
Yeah, you're fighting a cipher here, as opposed to unlocking a security console. And now we get a medal that is only in the XBLA version. Honor. Choose to rescue Scoot. Without hesitation. Even though I hesitated several times because I was considering whether I really should be playing this game. Or at least this version of the game. Alright. So. Coming up, we're about to meet a new character that has never been foreshadowed before and we will never see again. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
This is, I've been waiting a long time for you to see this particular cutscene, and I'm very excited. As soon as Kate stops duck walking in. Alright, here we go.
Prepare to pay your debts.
Check's in the mail, asshole. You made it. Not bad for an engineer. Here. I think you dropped this.
Scoot! We've got to save Scoot!
Oh, I'm sorry, were you expecting some resolution?
What?
That's the end of the XBLA version right there.
That's it?
That's it. Oh, hey, I unlocked a gamer picture. That was totally worth it.
What?
Oh, and I got a total of 20 combos in one playthrough, and I successfully completed every hack in the game. So that is ending 1, so to speak. That is the end of the XBLA version of Hydrophobia. Thankfully, Hydrophobia Prophecy does not end quite that abruptly. It continues for a bit, and we'll be seeing that later in the next video.
Yeah, no, just as the game gets good, it abruptly ends.
Yes.
It's just jump cut to
Yeah.
be continued.
It pretty much ends mid-level.
Yeah, that's a little sloppy right there.
See, Sound Snap Community. That's where they got all their stock sound effects and their music. And it's also kind of telling that there is no composer. There's a musical director, because that was the guy where they got all of their music. They got all their music off of a stock website, and they had to credit him somehow, so they credit him as music director.
Which still kind of fits, but I mean, well, that's a letdown.
Yeah, so I'm going to go on record and say that Hydrophobia, the original Hydrophobia, is one of the worst games I've ever played. But Hydrophobia Prophecy is fairly decent. I wouldn't go so far as to say good, but it's
serviceable.
Yes. Considering how... considering where they started, I think that... I think there you go. So Pete Yates was the QA manager. Okay, here we go. PR. So these 4 people, you have 2 of the creative directors, narrative director, and an intern from the University of Dalton. Or sorry, University of Bolton, excuse me. Working PR.
Well, they were working PR when this game came out. They're working at McDonald's now.
Actually, Rob Hewson is doing fairly well for himself. We found some so we got into some research on what he's up to, and apparently he's doing fairly decently.
Yeah,
he's
he's the one that made it out of this.
He worked on some of the recent Lego games. I think Lego Force Awakens and Lego Jurassic World.
All of which do very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what happens when you get a little too ambitious with your projects.
Yeah, so we unlocked the challenge room. That's a whole other thing, which I won't actually show off yet because it spoils a pretty big part of the next video. So yeah, next video we are going to see how Hydrophobia Prophecy ends. And just to sort of, nip things in the bud to start, Hydrophobia Prophecy's ending is also a cliffhanger, but it's a much better one. Like, there's actual tension and stakes involved. As opposed to just ending on a wet fart.
But you had to shoot all those windows to get that fart.
Yes. To be fair, there were a lot of windows that had to be shot in the process. So
Yes.
anyway,
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing if they patched the ending at all. So
they did certainly, as
try.
as bizarre and dumb as the ending gets for Prophecy, it is a significant improvement.
Oh boy.